For this second debate, students will be debating whether or not students should be allowed to drive once they enter high school, regardless of age. On the affirmative side, we have East Norton's Upper Arts 8th grade team with Amanda, Alyssa, and Pat. And on the negative side, we have Stewart's 7th grade team with Tyler, Sean, and Kian. Whenever you're ready.
Young adults going into high school should be allowed to drive. There are many laws to keep these drivers safe. There are also many laws to protect young adults with the ability to drive. If we add to those laws, which we already have, our streets would be even safer for these younger adults drivers. According to postgazette.com, there are 2 bills proposed to reduce the amount of accidents in young adults under the age of 17. One of these bills requires the under 17 adults to have no more than 1 passenger and one teenage passenger in the car with them, which will reduce the need for talking and cause less distractions. The second bill is an exemption from the first bill. It states that the family of the driver is excluded from the teenage passenger limit. InsuranceJournal.com states that there is a new bill being proposed to make driving safer for teens. This bill from the governor states that while teenage drivers are driving, they could lose their license for 90 days if they are ticketed for not wearing a seatbelt, talking on their cell phone, or violating the midnight to 5 a.m. rule. In conclusion, if all of the current laws are abided by them, there is no reason why students entering high school should be denied the opportunity to provide their own means for transportation.
If there are more drivers on the road, especially young drivers, wouldn't this affect global warming?
Could you repeat the question, please?
If we're letting more drivers on the road, wouldn't the gas affect global warming?
Yes, but now they are coming out with more fuel efficiency cars.
How can you guarantee that students will develop a sense of responsibility enough to take care of a car at such a young age?
Children are taught responsibility at a very young age, so we're hoping that their parents' influence will help them understand responsibility.
By allowing more students to drive to school, wouldn't it cause more accidents in school zone, putting pedestrians in danger?
According to a recent study by the University of Michigan Transportation Research Institute, 56% of teen drivers in their study had at least one crash, but crash rates significantly improved as the teens got more driving experience.
If you allow students to drive at a young age, say that students start getting fatal crashes. Their friends might get depressed. If these fatal crashes turn into large amounts, wouldn't this badly hurt the grades of many students?
This would also tie into the responsibility of the students. If the students feel depressed, they can seek professional counseling to help them through their grief.
If so many students are driving at Norristown Area High School, there is a limited amount of parking. Wouldn't there be a parking problem?
The taxes paid by the people of the community can help pay for new parking spaces.
There are already buses used to transport students from their house to school. The taxes could be used for something more important, couldn't it?
But if the students provide their own transportation, the money that is used for busing can be put into other things, like buying school books for the district.
You say you are going to save money on buses, but it might have to be spent on building parking lots according to the size of the parking lot at Norristown Area High School.
What's your question?
Wouldn't the bus money that you save by students driving to school, wouldn't that have to be put into building a parking lot to accommodate all of the students' cars?
If the money that would have been spent used for the buses were put into the parking locations, it would have no difference.
Wouldn't building a parking lot be far more expensive than transporting students to buses, through buses?
Could you clarify the question, please?
Wouldn't building a parking lot through the buses, saved expenses, be more costly than transporting students to and from their house using bus?
It would become the student's responsibility for the gasoline and the other money that needs to be spent for their cars, and the rest of the remaining money would be used towards the parking lot. So they would still be saving on the transportation.
What if the students at that young age don't have the money to buy a car or purchase gasoline?
Students going into high school are usually 14 and over, so they can get a job to pay for their own insurance and cars.
Aren't there also a limited amount of jobs that you can get at the age of 14?
There's an equal amount of jobs for students that are entering high school because as everyone matures, they pursue something different, so no one holds the same job for a long period of time. So there will be an open job for a student entering high school.
We believe students should be allowed to drive once they enter high school, regardless of age. First of all, some students are too immature, which can lead to reckless driving. Second of all, the numbers of drivers ages 15 through 20 died in car crashes increased between 2005 to 2006, according to the Rocky Mountain Insurance Information Association. Third of all, 50% of young drivers admitted to using their cell phone while driving compared to 35% of older drivers to the Drivers Express website. Fourth of all, crashes cause the most deaths for teens according to the Rocky Mountain Insurance Information Association. Lastly, drivers are only 6.6% of licensed drivers, but are included in 14% of fatal crashes. In conclusion, I believe that I have fully stated 5 reasons of why students should be able to drive in high school no matter what age they are.
How can you prove that all students going into high school are immature?
By the time the students get into high school, you should believe that they are mature enough to could you repeat the question? Sorry.
How can you prove that all students going into high school are immature?
Okay. We believe that by the time they get into high school, they should be mature enough.
Do you have any information more local than the Rocky Mountains?
The Rocky Mountains was just a representation of areas that we got the information for age groups, and not just our local areas. This affects everywhere.
No further questions.
All right. We believe that students shouldn't be allowed to drive once they enter high school, regardless of age. First of all, young drivers are only 6.6% of licensed drivers, but are included in 14% of fatal crashes. Secondly, some students are too immature, which can lead to reckless driving. Third of all, car crashes cause the most deaths for students, according to the Rocky Mountain Insurance Information Association. Also, Also, there isn't enough room for all of these new drivers at high schools, and the money on buses would have to be spent on new parking lots. Finally, most students are tempted to take advantage of their privileges, and most students are tempted to take advantage of their privileges, and driving at such a young age will be a privilege. In conclusion, I believe I have fully stated 3 reasons and 2 points against why students should not be allowed to drive when they enter high school, regardless of age.
It is imperative that students entering high school be given the right to drive. There are many laws in effect that will keep both adult and teen drivers safe. Stricter laws, such as 2 proposed bills that will reduce the amount of accidents in young adults under 17, will help meet the goal of handling the responsibility involved in driving on the roads. In response to concern about accidents, a recent study shows that 56% of teen drivers had 1 crash. However, their crash rates significantly improved as they got more driving experience. Since teens are permitted to get a job at age 14, it is only fair that they be able to provide transportation for themselves and will no longer need to rely on their parents to go to and from different locations. Therefore, we have drawn the conclusion that it will be extremely beneficial for students entering high school to be given the right to drive.